Okay, this is path analysis part 4. So we get into AMOS and we draw a model. So we've got a lot of things happening in this model, but I want to focus on the output really quick. So the first thing that we see again is our chi-square. It's significant, not ideal, but let's look deeper at the model fit over here. CFI is not above a 0.9. It's close, it's not awful. When we scroll down to our RMSEA, really not good. Ideally, this would be below a 0.08. So the data doesn't fit the model very well. But let's look at the estimates. So the first thing that I notice with my regression weights is that only one of them is not significant. Meaning, thinking about our model, again, that means everything is significantly predicting everything in the way that I thought it would, except for this one path between this guy and this guy. When I get to my standardized regression weights, these were the factor loadings that we interpreted with CFA. Now we're interpreting them differently. So now we're going back to like their actual regression weights, like the beta weights from multiple regression that we've learned. So here we can see that only one of them has pretty much no impact, which makes sense because it's the one that's not significant. The rest of them are all significant, but that's pretty low, thinking about correlation terms, pretty low, pretty low. Negative relationship, so we have an inverse relationship, still important, still significant, but definitely the lowest impact compared to the rest of them. And this one at the bottom has the highest impact compared to all of these. So when we think about what is predicting racism in this case, this guy has the biggest impact on the model. Here's where things get kind of confusing because we're talking about model fit versus pathway significance. In CFA, the model fit kind of trumped everything else. That we really needed that measurement data to fit the measurement model. And we would get rid of any factor loading below a 0.4 that wasn't contributing. So that item was not contributing to the latent factor very well. So model fit was really more important to us than pathway significance or kind of factor loading significance. We kind of cleaned that up really closely. With path analysis, the model is focused on theory and interpretation. It's a predictive model. It's no longer a measurement model. So it's really more focused on pathway significance, but we do report model fit as well. And this gets really confusing because if the data you collected doesn't fit the conceptual model, which one is wrong? Is the data wrong or is the model wrong? Most of the time in these situations, we assume that the data is correct, that people were honest, the patterns that we're seeing, those are all correct, and that the model itself was wrong. So maybe there was a non-significant pathway and you should remove it. We do that in multiple regression. We don't want predictors in our model that aren't significant because they're just accounting for some of the overall variance that is just by chance. In these models, that is no longer true. Having a non-significant pathway does not affect the significance or strength of another relationship. It's not an additive model like multiple regression is. So we can usually move non-significant pathways and we get a better model fit. So that is one way to show that it's not that the data and the model is bad. We can get a better model, but we drew those non-significant pathways for a reason. So deleting them and not reporting that is not the best option. Usually what I would do is I would report the original model, everything that I said, and then either say model fit can be improved by removing these or show what it would look like without those lines. But you kind of report both. So I want you to go into AMOS now, look at the reflection guide, and walk through and do some practice. So there's a data set, a very, very simple thing, kind of dissect it, look at everything, figure out what you want to do, and then add a mediator and see what happens. Just a quick note on note-taking. I usually have an entire page dedicated to each model where I'm writing down all of this information, and especially what's my model fit, what's significant, what's not significant, which one has the largest impact. And that helps really nicely when you start adding another model that you want to compare back to. So having some way to kind of capture all of your thinking about one model in one kind of page, or however you take notes, it makes it so much easier to compare across models. We'll talk more about comparison tables as well, and you can kind of modify that into however you take notes.